What is good, NIO family? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I wanted to break down what's going on with NIO, Tesla, SPY, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm going to break down what's happening to the market so far and some very important things to be looking out for next week. But before I break anything down with all this information, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things. I am firstly not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull, the link down below, and deposit any amount of money into the account, you are guaranteed up to 12 free stocks. And this offer ends in just 4 days, so check it out before they run out. Anyways, let's break down what's going on with the market. NIO was down 2.49% for the day, selling off with the market. We failed to get a bounce, and that's despite the fact that we had some decent PCE data. The PCE report was aligned with expectations as we were expecting, and the 5-year inflationary expectations report was aligned with pretty much everything. Most of these reports were very close to expectations. Nothing too bad came out. And don't forget, Amazon had pretty good earnings. So the market did try to pop in the morning, but then it came right back down, and we ended up failing as time went on. The market is extremely fearful. We're seeing extreme fear making up all of these different indicators. When we hit these extreme fear levels, this is when the market tends to find its bottoms. You can see going back, we were at these extreme levels in October of last year. It also happened to happen around this March period before the market rallied, and it is happening right now, which suggests that there could be a nice bounce coming very, very soon. But right now, the market's not ready to bounce. It could take a little bit longer. Going into the week, we have a couple of big earnings coming out. We have AMD and Pfizer coming out for Tuesday. For Wednesday, we have PayPal and Roku. And then for Thursday, we have Apple and Shopify announcing their earnings. So we have 2 big days ahead of us. On top of this, I just wanted to call out the fact that when it comes to our schedule for our economic calendar, there's not much going on for Monday. For Tuesday, we have basically just some PMI reports, and then NIO is going to be announcing its deliveries, so that's going to be very important. And then on top of that, we have the FOMC meeting on Wednesday of next week, November 1st. And that's pretty much it for the week. Nothing else that's too crazy is going to be coming out. But the FOMC meeting is going to be very important for Wednesday. So we're going to be paying attention to what happens then. As far as NIO goes, Morgan Stanley has given their opinion on the JAC asset sale. NIO is basically planning on potentially becoming more self-sufficient by potentially buying some factory assets with a net value of about $574 million USD or something like that. And it has another factory which NIO basically could be interested in potentially buying them. So it's going to be very big news for NIO. Morgan Stanley has come out and they basically said that this is some very, very good news if NIO does manage to improve its capabilities. But there's some concerns at the same time about NIO's cash flow, and investors are going to likely look at how NIO is going to narrow its cash burn rate. So there are 2 ways of looking at it. There are good things and bad things, but they also mentioned that they're anticipating some very, very nice upside. You could see that their targets are showing NIO hitting $18 a share with the 88% increases as time goes on. So I had some very mixed views on this, but more good than bad. If anything, more of these investors would be more optimistic if NIO gains this power and control. As far as the data goes, Deutsche Bank is just giving NIO a buy rating still. The price-price ratio is flat, and there's not much going on with the technicals or the charts for now. The volume was about $34 million. So, 34 million in volume, not $34 million. As far as NIO goes, looking at the charts, the 30 minutes time frame is looking kind of weaker, and we're continuing to see this sell off a bit. But I just want to call out that we have this head and shoulders on NIO right here, and it looks like the full measured move down would take it to $7, and that's where NIO should bounce. So there could be a little bit more downside coming. We still have a bullish divergence developing, but I think NIO is going to drop a little bit more towards 7. We're going to bottom around there for the next week, and then we should see a bounce maybe during its deliveries or something like that. Now for SPY, I was hoping we'd see a bounce today after Amazon's earnings and after we got some bullish data today, but it all it helped the market bounce temporarily, then the market continued to sink. So the next level to watch for, now that we technically broke below 410, we have 409 as support, then we have this historical support at 405. That's going to be very important to be watching for right about here. This 405 support is going to be key to about 403.74. We're going to be watching these levels very, very carefully to see if we can see buyers step in or not. But if we lose 405, then 402 is on the table. My guts tells me 405 is going to be a very important level, and we could get very close to that like 400 area. Now, I don't see us coming all the way down to like 380 or anything like that because I think the market's getting very close to bottoming. We have a nice bullish divergence developing, but we have more downside potential on SPY. There's no sign of it bouncing because on the daily chart, we have a very bearish looking daily candle. Still looks pretty weak. We could drop a little bit more towards 405 or so. And we're going to be watching to see how FOMC ends up affecting us. I think that for Tesla, there could be a little bit more downside coming. It still looks kind of weak on the 4 hour, and we could see this thing eventually retest 202.5 from this point on, and we could see even more downside. We're going to be watching 200 to see how it holds on Tesla and whether or not it holds. And then if it breaks down, there is going to be even more potential downside coming. Tesla could bounce later on with the markets, but for now, there is potential for downside. So just be prepared for that. As far as the IWM goes, still looking bearish. I mean, I could see this breaking down towards 158 very soon. The QQQ is still managed to close green, but it was on a big decline. It does not look like it's done with its decline, and there could be a little bit more downside. One thing worth noting is this 200 EMA, as we're barely testing it right now. We have an imbalance all the way down towards 340. That is going to be on the table if this thing continues to sink. There's also a gap below that, but I'm not going to worry about the gap until we get down to 340. If we lose 340, I do expect this to come down into the 330s. So like right here, we have this gap down here, and we also have this very important level right here at 337. If the QQQ loses 337, we could come down to fill this gap at 330 and then bounce. So there could be quite a bit more downside left before it bounces. But for now, it's looking a bit more bearish, so just be very careful. I believe the market's still in a bottoming process, and I think that 340 is going to be a very important support. But we'll just have to wait and see. Apple has come down. It managed to close kind of green, but like I said before, guys, looking kind of weak on the 4 hour time frame. The daily is looking okay. So I could see Apple trading a bit sideways here since we have this resistance right here at 169. If it fails here, we could see this thing continue to decline, and I think it's just going to trade sideways. Nvda did close green, but it's still looking kind of weak on the daily. I could see a little bit more downside. I wouldn't be surprised if it come down towards 395. There's also this support right here where this gap is. So gap supports all the way down here. I'm going to be watching this gap down here on NVIDIA. We have this gap all the way down to the 390s. I think this gap could end up getting filled very, very soon if we do continue to decline. So just be very careful and make sure you watch these levels very, very carefully, especially this gap right here at 395, not to mention support at 390. So watch these levels. Just know that we are looking a bit more bearish on NVIDIA. We may come down to fill that gap. And I do believe it's going to bounce later on, but for now, we're just not ready. So the market looks like it has more downside coming. However, I still believe the market's going to bounce for November/December. I'm going to talk more about that tomorrow in a very, very short video. I want to make the video very quick and simple. But for now, guys, that's what I have for this one. So I thank you all so much for listening. Have a great day. NIO to the moon because the long term is still incredibly bright. And peace out.